You mentioned Granddad being a Nobel Peace winner, a scholar. How did growing up in an environment where you had access to someone like that, how did that shape who you became then?
I didn't really feel much of union life. And I didn't, funny enough, if it wasn't on a football pitch or around the football pitch, I felt uncomfortable. So that's where your life is now in jeopardy. It's nothing to do with the sport anymore. So how do you use the sport to calm people down? But it was just now no one getting hurt.
Hi, my name is Manny DeJourna. I am the founder of Mentality. Mentality is a platform designed for men and women, but more specifically for men, to help us become better pillars of society. We do this through our media arm, our events arm, our services, and our community arms. In essence, creating a tribe and an environment where we men can support each other, learn from each other, grow with each other, and become, as I said, better pillars of society moving forward across all the interactions that we have in life. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and anyone who's watching this across the world, welcome to Mental Notes. Today's guest is somebody who I've met and we've really connected, really synergized. We have a lot in common in terms of history, in terms of things that we find fun, in terms of our backgrounds in football and education, in terms of navigating family life, navigating growing up in the UK and in London. And he's somebody who has achieved massive amounts in such a short time. And from hearing his story from day one, I was massively inspired and really wanted to delve into what makes him so successful at what he does. Now, I know because the more time I spend with him, I understand the driving forces behind who he is. But ladies and gentlemen, today, welcome Omar Al Duri.
Thank you, man. That's an intro and a half, you know.
Off the dome, bro. Off the dome.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, but listen, in all honesty, is everything that has rung true to me ever since we met and had our very first conversation. Oh, didn't even mention, Omar's also a award-winning author, but we'll delve into that as we go along. But no, honestly, it's everything that rings true to me based on the conversations, based on who I've seen you to be, and the integrity that you carry. So yeah, it's, as much as it's an intro, it's my belief of who you are and what I've noticed.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you for coming. For those that don't know you though, Omar, and as much as I've introed you, it's always better to hear from the man himself. Who is Omar Al Duri?
That's a good question. I'm going to start off with that one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Omar Al Duri is a student of the game, life, a son, as a husband, as a coach, an educator, someone that tries to authentically be himself, even if he doesn't fit in the crowd. I think that's who I am.
I think that's difficult. It's difficult for you not to fit in the crowd, though, because you carry a level of presence that is so comfortable. And I think that's the one thing that I noticed from the minute I said hello to you the first time we met. You carry this presence of just, I'm comfortable in my skin that is very kind of disarming. It makes, in different environments and different situations I've seen you in, it makes it very easy to have a conversation with you, right? So there's that. But where does the story begin for you then? Maybe we can delve into how you became who you are and where this energy, this vibration that you carry comes from.
Again, bro, you set the bar high. It's too kind almost. I think the energy comes from Wandsworth, London.
I know it well.
Yeah, the energy comes from a family tree that is set the bar so high that I think sometimes it's hard to be satisfied, like you say, how you've got to where you are today. Yeah. I don't really see it like that, to be honest. I've got to say, like, when you have a grandfather who is a scholar or a Nobel Prize winner, anything you achieve in his lane is very different to your lane. Yeah. So you have to learn how to almost set your own milestones and be comfortable, like you said, which takes a lot of practice. I don't think it's something that just you have. I think something you have to work on. So it's a lot of those things, but it's someone who was born and raised in London to an Iraqi father who are very high on education and a beautiful mother who's very high on love and passion.
What a combination, boy.
And that is, yeah, it's explosive. She's from Saudi, but she's never lived in Saudi.
Okay.
So it's bringing all, I think, those roots and those genes together to try and formulate your own person.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Granddad being a Nobel Peace winner, a scholar. How did growing up in an environment where, and I'm assuming because I haven't asked the question, where you had access to someone like that, how did that shape who you became then, from childhood to where you're at now?
I think you try and figure out who you are really, and then when you come across greatness like that,
Mm.
you know, you're very intimidated. You're very in awe. The good thing about him is he never forced me to deep dive into education like my dad did. My
Right.
dad was like, "You're not playing ball. You're not doing sport. You're doing education."
Such a
So
contrast, huh?
it's a contrast, and he's taken it from someone who, to put it in context, all my teachers who were Iraqi
Mm-hmm.
in the school I went to
Mm-hmm.
used to shake my hand, and I didn't understand why, because they knew my surname, and it was
Right.
because of my grandfather.
Right.
At that age, you don't really know, but then afterwards, you kind of realize, wow, like for someone we talk about impact in today's world rather than influence.
Mm-hmm.
Someone have real impact over your teachers is inspiring in
It's
itself.
huge. I asked the question because I'll speak to many men, right? And one of the common recurrent themes that we come across is the fact that a lot of men feel like they're competing with their fathers. So I wanted to kind of grasp in my head when I asked that question, would it have been the same with your grandfathers? As we all look up to our fathers somewhat, whether in a positive or a negative way, we all want to equal, if not better, the achievements that they have, right? And that's what led me to asking the question about your granddad. But then you made a very interesting point about your dad pushing you for education. Do you think he felt the weight and the burden of following in the footsteps of your grandfather? Have you ever had that conversation?
No, but I think he'd be best to answer it because he's a genius. So I'm not someone I know that well either. So I think because he's the best at what he does professionally,
Mm-hmm.
and because he's a genius, it'll be interesting to see what he says, because I can only speak on my experiences.
Yeah.
But I think also the biggest blessing is not having him around,
Right.
where you pick up your own
Right.
bits and pieces and you learn and you make mistakes over and over again, and you sort of learn off the street rather than off the books.
Okay.
And I think we spend all our life focusing on what's in the books, but you actually learn just as much off the street,
Absolutely, if not more.
if not more.
Especially where we grew up as
Yes.
well. Being that as much as, I mean, my family was big on education. I think it's a song that I sing off from the rooftops. But you have to be street smart where we come from, right? You have to know how to navigate the streets. You have to know how to get around. You have to know how to be safe. And these are tools that stay with you even into the corporate world and, you know, anywhere in the world. Just being able to keep yourself alive and safe is very important. I want to understand a little bit more on that same vein of conversation about your life in Wandsworth as a child. What was that like?
Very beneficial, very heartwarming, very real. You know, we are blessed to be living here
Yes.
on this part of the world now,
Yeah.
which is very different to how we grew up, but it also keeps us grounded. So we're aware of our surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's going to be certain things that are going to happen that are out of your control, and you know there's going to be certain things that are going to happen that are in your control.
Right.
And you learn to navigate, and you learn to expect certain things versus be grateful for what you have. So I think growing up there, it was fine. I mean, it was who we were, right? So it wasn't even something we thought about that was different. That's all we knew.
Yeah.
And it's not till 24 years old that I left the UK.
Okay.
And yeah, still a boy. at that stage, you know?
I think we most of us remain boys even later than that,
Yeah.
right? You just kind of take life experiences as they come. But you said like you were still a boy. I mean, if I recall my schooling, I mean, I grew up in Croydon, so not too far away
Yeah.
from Wandsworth, in Thornton Heath to be exact. But you know, most of my life experience was built in Croydon. And anyone that knows Croydon, and if you don't know, just stick it into Google, and it will tell you everything that you need to know. Um, it wasn't a life of privilege, and it wasn't a life of comfortability. And there's something that you said that kind of is reverberating in my head, which is it's all we knew. So for me, that was normality. It was normality to go to school and people got knives in their bags. It was normality to get into fights every day after school. It was normality that at 13 years old, we were fighting the 17, 18-year-old college boys from down the road at Croydon College. That was normality for me. So in a world where today, none of that happens, and living in Dubai under what I would call privilege, I look back and there's a sense of appreciation that I get, which is come a long way. That was normal. This is my normality now, but I've come a long way. And sometimes there's this kind of imposter syndrome that starts to creep in, like, why did I get this chance? And why am I here? Do you ever get that?
Let me ask you something before I answer
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
Do you still feel that now, the imposter part?
Only when I go home,
Okay, and how often do you go home?
twice a year.
And in those, do you feel rejuvenated or do you feel drained?
Not at all. I think there's a draining that happens because I go back and I see people who seem stuck,
Okay.
who seem like they haven't evolved, who seem caught up in this perpetuating cycle of, okay, wake up, miserable, breakfast, miserable, get the kids to school, miserable, go to work, miserable, come home, miserable, sit down, watch EastEnders, go to bed, miserable, rinse, repeat. So there's this, and it makes you feel kind of like burdened by the fact that you've actually chosen to go and chase life and make something.
So do you feel you need a holiday after the holiday?
Yeah,
There you go.
often.
So that's how I feel.
Often. Do you feel that a lot though?
I don't go often back home.
Okay.
So we sold our house a couple of years back.
Mhm.
So, and I did that so my mum would be with me here because I look after my mum here. So
Nice.
that was a tactic, so to speak,
I like that.
where I can't really think of that house without my mum in it.
Yeah.
And I want her to enjoy the fruitions of life. So having her here, not worried about there, is something where I'm like, that's my priority. I don't really mind about the house. You know, I think you pick up things and
Yeah.
you lose things and things evolve eventually and you forget about them. But I think with your family and your loved ones, there's certain things you just can't push to a side.
That makes sense. Outside of mum, do you have any siblings or any kind of close people back home?
I have friends. I have friends back home. The street I grew up on, people are still there, working from Tony at the shoe shop to
Yeah.
your local.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the family that I grew up with. I was the only person in my mum's side who lived outside of the Middle East.
Okay.
And from my dad's side, I don't have any cousins because none of my uncle or aunties got married.
Wow.
So I'm the last Al Duri in that family tree.
Wow. Let's not hope you're the last Al Duri to carry
Yeah.
it. We've got to break that legacy.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of staying on the conversation about growing up in
Yeah.
Wandsworth and school and so on and so forth. What are some of the earliest memories that you carry then that you think kind of shaped this route to heading out this way?
Yeah, so I went to an all boys school. So that was the first thing. So we had no distractions.
Sounds fun.
It keeps you focused as well. At least while we were at school, at high school,
Yeah.
it was football. And there was nothing else that really mattered while you were on the premises, apart from trying to get there half an hour early to have a quick game before we start registration. 11:20 to 11:40, you got 20 minutes. That's another football match where they took away the footballs, we played with the tennis ball. They took away the goals, we played with the bins.
Yep.
We took away the bins, so we played with the bags.
Yeah.
And then there's lunchtime prayer and break,
Mm-hmm.
which was prayer and break. You had to eat and crumbs all over your mouth while you're running to the game. You didn't care. So it was then another hour.
Yeah.
Where that was where like it went down. It wasn't even, it was just A versus B.
Nice.
You knew what you were doing. And then after school, you were hoping the bus was late.
So you could do 20 minutes before you
Quick
get on the
20
bus.
minutes
I get
for, you know.
I get it. That was life for me
Yeah.
too.
So, you know, that was all we knew until college, where obviously it's mixed and stuff like that. But I think for that period, in that stage, that's all we knew. And I'm sure you could relate to that too.
Oh, absolutely. That was life for me too. I think where things started kind of going the right way for me a little bit was around about year 9, year 10, when the discovery of, you can actually play kind of came in. Because at that point, people started paying attention. The right people started paying attention.
Interesting. Who's the right people?
There were a few teams around, a few academies around that were now starting to question, who is he?
Nice.
Who is he? And up until that point, very much like yourself, it's always been academics. Go get your book, read your book, read your book, read your book. And even at that point, it was always go get your book. Growing up in an African family, that was seen as the only way out. Is academia. You've got to be a lawyer. You've got to be an accountant. You've got to have within the viewpoint and the lens of the community, one of these highfalutin jobs for the community to be like, he's made it. Woe betide you say I'm going to be a football player, which makes sense, and I get it, right? Because the amount of people that actually make it in football is a very tiny percentage.
By the way, he's a sick keeper, by the way. I went and watched him the other day. I'm just saying, for those that don't know, you know now because you follow him and you watch him. But if you got a privilege to watch him in goal, he's a sick keeper. So I'll just throw that out there while you're just talking.
I try my best, man. I'm an old man these days, man. It takes me about 3 days to recover after a session like that. That being said, I'll probably play tonight as well.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I guess the way I was leading the conversation is, for you, football now is an integral part, or was an integral part of your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
At what point did you start taking it seriously?
So I accepted very early, maybe because I was my harshest critic, that I wasn't going to be a professional.
Okay.
So I started doing my coaching badges at 19. And I probably not let go of the hope. I probably decided at 16, 17, multiple tears in my calf muscles, etc. I need to stay in the game, but I need to please my family with the education. So I have to kind of combine the two. So as long as I did my education, I used to go uni in the morning. I used to be a PE teacher in the afternoon, and I used to PT at night.
Wow.
So I didn't have much of a uni life, but football was always something where I was like, if I can make a difference to those that feel a certain way about the game, or want to improve, or want to be a better version of themselves, if I can be that voice I wasn't given when I was younger, of encouragement, but of being real with someone, because that's the worst thing if you're encouraging someone the wrong way. So if I could be that voice and I could almost fill in that gap that I kind of needed, then I'm doing something right. And that's how I started. And especially, we spoke about high school. You didn't want to impress women. You wanted to impress.
I just wanted to play football.
That's what I'm saying. And your teammates or your opponents, you wanted to come off the pitch and them go, that's a player. He's good.
One there.
Yeah. So even from that mentality, I wanted to kind of say, I didn't understand why I was always captain. Genuinely didn't understand that. There was people much better than me technically. And when I say technically at that time, technically for me was flair. It wasn't technique.
Because flair was what stood out.
That's what I'm saying. That's what separated the flashy players, which I wasn't, to the person that kept being picked as captain. And then there was a responsibility to set the example through hard work, through effort, through understanding the game. When other people maybe would have said, we're done with this now, we can move on to something else. And I'm thinking, how, why, who, when? And all these things where you start using the 5 W's, which you learn later in your license, is understanding what my purpose is, what is my why? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And why are these people elevated by me?
Right.
How can I lift 10 other men
Right.
on that pitch and say something when you need to and not all the time
Right.
where they're bombarded with just voice and noise.
Right.
And then that was my form of leadership versus what I grew up to. And I know I'm sure you remember Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira,
Yes.
Steven Gerrard.
Yes.
They were vocal, they were in your face, they were unapologetic.
Correct.
But I wasn't them, but I looked up to them. So I think that for me is understanding what my role is moving forward in the game.
Love that you were able to self-identify. But I guess even before we go into the role that you played, or getting into the physical training part of your development, I wanted to ask this, and it's a question that came to mind when you were speaking, which is, what do you think others saw then? Because you didn't recognize what it was. What do you think the others, the coaches and the team managers and your teammates, what do you think they saw that made them put you as captain? Because there's two things that happen, right? It's one thing to be named captain. It's another thing to be respected as a captain. And by respected, not so much what the gaffer says, it's whether your teammates are willing to listen, to follow your leadership, to be riled up when you are ready to lift, to calm down when you're ready to calm, and to respect your authority within the pitch as a leader. What do you think they saw?
I think you have to ask them, to be honest.
I want to know. I want you to reflect, right? And of course, I can ask them, and I'll probably get 11 different answers, or 11 different answers with some similarities. But I want you to reflect, because the whole point of that question is, I want you to dig deep and go back and try and think about some of the behaviors that you exhibited, right? It's easy enough to say, oh, he noticed that in me, so it's on him. But clearly you were doing something for them too, right? Have you stood still to recognize the man you were becoming in those moments?
Probably not, because you're always moving. You're always, I don't really think you reflect as much. Bearing in mind the era we grew up in, there wasn't much of that kind of conversation. There wasn't much of that awareness. So I don't think I was, I don't think I stood still. I think I was always probably challenging myself to do more, because maybe the person that mattered the most didn't watch me play football. So I think for me, that's where I was like, my dad hasn't seen me play once. To most people, they'll think, well, what's the big deal? But I think for me, it was, well, he's dealing with footballers every day as an orthopedic surgeon. Why can't he just dedicate half an hour, 45 minutes to me just to watch? You might think I'm rubbish, but just watch me play. And I think from that point, you don't have time to stand still, because you're not seeking validation. You're sort of taking in the information, trying to absorb it as much as possible, and then relaying that information live. And that's where, in my opinion, the best leaders lead, because they're able to freeze time when they need to, so you're not rushed.
Agreed.
They're able to deliver in the times that need delivering, and they're able to achieve a certain level of success within their objectives,
Right.
that they feel impacts the group setting. So I think overall, no, I didn't have time to realize that. But later on, when I was coaching, I could appreciate what type of footballer I was and what type of student I was.
I'm gonna come back to the point, because it's so important, because I know it's a battle that many young boys go through, myself included, right? My mom didn't watch me till I was in my mid-20s, and as much as I just kept going, because I needed to get into those teams, I needed to be playing consistently, I needed to be the first pick, I put it on the side, and I kind of discounted it, right? But it was affecting me and it was breaking me down. And I know that facts, based on conversations I've had with some people who have been like outstanding footballers, right? That it's quite common. It's quite a common thing that we as athletes go through, or anyone in any kind of, highly strung highly pressurized role or learning environment is. And you said the one person you wanted to watch you play wasn't there. What did you want him to see? What did you want him to say?
Just that his boy's talented.
That would have been enough.
That's graduation for me. He says that to me, I'm blown away by that statement, especially for him.
And do you think that would have enhanced your love of football even more then?
No, but it would have driven me to follow my dream more as a player. More. I was very fortunate enough later on, but as a player, because that extra 5%, that extra 10% is the difference. Now I can tell you that between making it and not making it.
Of course.
So when people say that 1%, imagine if it's 5%. Now all of a sudden you're elevated to a level where you believe how good you are, and that's dangerous as a player.
Absolutely.
That's the difference between you and your opponent.
Absolutely.
And that's why I was so focused on football that it kept me away from a lot of things that my friends were doing, which is fine as well.
Yeah.
That was their journey. But for me, it was like, I can't do that because I have training.
You've got to do that.
I've got to play. I've got to coach. I've got to do whatever.
But even that in itself has its own pressures, right? And I'm trying to be as real as possible here in that I've been in situations where I've gone to football matches or gone to training, and your mates, your brethren's dad is on the sideline giving information, and you're seeing it, and you're just thinking to yourself, where's my dad? I've been in situations where people have been picked for teams ahead of me because their dad is drinking down the local pub with the coach, or they know each other from this social environment. And you're thinking, where's my opportunity? You know you're better, if not as good. But that extra percentage that you talk about makes a difference. And I recently just finished reading Joe Cole's book.
Okay.
Luxury Footballer.
Good book?
Incredible book.
Okay.
But it's written from his lens. And there are huge portions of that book that reference his stepdad. And the things that his stepdad did for him. And you start realizing, in terms of professional football, in terms of him joining West Ham, in terms of him, even his contract signing from West Ham to Chelsea, it was his dad. To the point where he almost lost the number 10 shirt to Juan Sebastian Veron. And his dad walked out the meeting and was like, well, these are not men of integrity because they promised you the number 10. Moments like that, you realize how, as much as we dilute the existence of proud family members in those environments, it really, really does shape who we become. Which is why I wanted to kind of delve on that point. Is it's fleeting for us because we've parked it, because we've got to keep going, right? But it's so important, because I guarantee you there's another another young boy sitting there whose parents are from the Congo or from Ghana or from Nigeria, whose parents are like, who are telling him or her, because female football's coming up now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Go pick up a book, because that's the only way you're going to make it. Fast forward now, we're at university, following the second path, actually picking up the book, right? And trying to use that as a means to keep within the environment of football. Talk us through that and how that then leads to you coming to Dubai.
I didn't have much of a uni life, to be honest. I didn't get to experience that too much, because for me it was, I needed to work. If I could work, get paid. If I get paid, I could do things and take the pressure off my mom a little bit. To be fair, did everything. I'm not one of those kids that was like, I didn't grow up with this, I didn't grow up with that. My mom did everything she could within her power to do so. So it wasn't like I was like struggling or anything, but I knew what we had versus what we don't. And so I worked, I went to uni in the morning, and I didn't really feel much of uni life. And funny enough, if it wasn't on a football pitch or around the football pitch, I felt uncomfortable.
Okay.
And that was something,
Because that's your ground zero.
that's my home.
Yeah.
That is my home. So when you invest so much in a sport, you speak that language.
Mm-hmm.
And that language comes from your experiences, whether it's empathy or whether it's aggression or whether it's love for the game, whatever it is. If I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be able to empathize with
Right.
different cultures,
Right.
different nationalities. And I think that was my skill set, where when you look at someone, automatically that person takes an impression on you. But then when you start to talk football, like you see what you just
Breaks
did
boundaries.
now,
Yeah.
that's what I would get. So people would be like, oh, okay. But unless you give an opportunity, that skill set comes from the other person as well. Because if I coached in communities, I coached in places that were very rough. But when the session started, we spoke football.
Yeah.
Whatever those boys did afterwards
Doesn't matter.
I would judge you on how you are respectfully on time,
Yes.
which a lot of my close friends and family know me for. Say, how you get so annoyed if we're not on time.
It's respect. It's good manners.
That's what I'm saying. And when it came down to those little things, where when the session's over, do they help you with the cone? Do they help you with the bags?
Yeah.
Do they acknowledge you after the session's over? This is all things you're teaching them.
Yeah. Life skills.
Life skills, which is what we went through in the beginning of this episode. We were talking about the things that life teaches you,
Right.
and then when to speak to someone, when not to speak to someone.
Correct.
You know, how to address maybe the inner child in a footballer who hasn't been touched, in the sense that something's triggered them and they've lost their head on the pitch. You don't go to them straight away. You see how they react to their teammates, to the closest person to them. Are they making eye contact?
Right.
Are they understanding the situation and how they've cost their team?
Right.
You know, just the other day, I'm not sure if you watched it, but it was actually probably did because it was your team. Idrissa Gueye slaps
Correct.
Keane.
I saw it. Yeah.
Now, if I haven't been in that situation or in that scenario or under those cultures, I won't get that.
What was your thought process through that, actually? Now we're breaking it down.
Yeah. So my thought process was, he's won the ball back and they both on a different page where he wants to play out the back. So he's laid it off for a 1-2 and Keane's just stood there. And then a shot's taken by the United player, I think it was Fernandez, and it's gone over the bar. That normally will go in. So Gueye's lost his head and Keane said something to him. He's provoked him first. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm biased towards Gueye, but he said something first and then Gueye's reacted. And I think there was an overreaction from everyone else where you can't touch your player. If he pushes him, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
He struck him.
He did.
Soft. And then Keane's almost wound him up by not reacting physically, but still going with the verbals. And then Gueye's then been given a red card straight away and given his marching orders. Now, while he's doing that, Keane said, go away, just get off.
Yeah.
Now, that happens on the training ground all the time.
Every day.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I don't care about both teams. But I've seen that and I've gone, please, ref, don't send him off. And he sent him off. And that moment, now, Idrissa Gueye, if you know the character profile, that's not his character.
At all.
Right?
At all.
Okay. So because that's not his character, I don't think people should get excused for these things. But just be aware. You know how we spoke about be aware of your situation, surroundings, the way you grew up, your culture, etc. He's gone and apologized and done all that. Everton were lucky to win that game. If that game's not won, Moyes is not saying, I love my players having fights.
At all.
So, but the warning that would have gone in the dressing room is, no one here is doing that again. Or not only am I fining you, I'm suspending and probably selling you. Let this be a lesson to everyone in this. It won't go out to the public. I'll go out to the public and say, I like that. But if any of you lot try it again,
that's it.
That's it. And that was my take of the whole situation.
I love that. I love that you looked at it from that lens. I have watched that incident maybe 30 times.
And?
Since. Similar lens to you. Not exactly the same mindset, but similar lens where I believe there was a provocation there. and I've watched it from as many angles as has been given to me. The first move actually wasn't just verbal. If you watch it very well, you'll notice that Keane reaches out and pushes Idrissa Gueye, at which point he strikes him.
No, the verbal was when the pass was wrong.
When the pass was wrong.
And then push. Yes.
But the first physical altercation
correct.
was Keane.
Correct.
And then Idrissa Gueye struck him, which I'm not justifying.
Yeah.
We also don't know what was said in that exchange.
Yeah.
But there was a reaction from Keane afterwards. He pushed him again, at which point Pickford was already there. And any of us who've been in fights or in environments where there's fights understand that when everyone else reacts, it amplifies the situation way beyond what it should be.
Yeah.
Especially on a football pitch where the heat of pressure and the moment and the energy and the adrenaline all kicking in, it becomes a lot bigger. I mean, I've been on football pitches where the silliest tackle has almost ended in a full-on brawl between two teams and the bench. And then 5 minutes later, it's like, let's play. Nothing happens. You play 90 minutes. Like, no. It's interesting, really, because it's the defamation that happens thereafter and what Idrissa Gueye is going to hear outside of his unit of football players and coaches that then is going to determine how he becomes and how he responds. And I say that to say, these are the things we don't think about when we're talking about, they gave him a red card, I was slapped. Yeah, but do you understand what he was going through? And do you understand that afterwards, even though he gets paid handsomely, what's it going to be like on the training pitch on Monday? When the rest of his teammates are putting him to the side and saying, no, he's a violent one. We don't want to segregating him. And it becomes a spiral then mentally. So there's things that people deal with. And I say all that wanting to lead the conversation to where you start playing a major part beyond just physical now, right? Because that's a huge part of your journey. And that's a huge part of who you became. It wasn't just about, okay, cool, I'm going to make this person the most physically best specimen he can be. Can I understand the mentality that drives this person?
So there was a quick incident that happened in London. One of my friends, Ab, he said, I think the community would benefit a lot if you spend a couple of hours with them a week. And I said, when you say community, I can't be charging what we normally charge for community. And he was like, yeah, we'll do something where we'll just keep them off the streets. They'll pay £5 for the session. And we'll get a couple of boys, and I just want you to work with them because I used to coach him in the school.
Right.
So I went to this area, and one day a fight broke out, and one of the guys got the ball and this close from us and volleyed it in his face when there was he fouled the person. He grabbed the ball, volleyed it in his face, and it hit him flush in the face. And we're talking distance. And then that person ran to a bag, and at that point there's a weapon involved. And I'm coaching the session live. But then the other guys have run to their bags. And at that time, I don't know, obviously, why is everyone running to their bags? Right. So the first thing was to grab the football and put it down. And then the second thing was understand where they're going and when they're coming back. And there's obviously they got a couple of weapons, etc. And we had to stop the session.
Yeah.
Now it's understanding why, how, and what's going to happen next. Right. And you have a responsibility where police will be involved, your coach, parents. Yeah. I mean, some of them will be lucky to have their parents around at that time as well, which I'm very mindful of. So that's where your life is now in jeopardy. It's nothing to do with the sport anymore. So how do you use the sport to calm people down? The session was over, but it was just now no one getting hurt and dividing the guys and having a word with some of them. Now, they're not going to stab me, but they want to hurt the other person.
Of course.
And that's where you try and take the life lessons, where you try and understand how you can remove the danger, speak to the players, and understand like your life's in jeopardy as well if you try and step in the way. Because now what is the problem now? Was it the foul? Was it the retaliation? Was it what's going to happen next? Are these guys going to share a pitch again? Is it going to go off the football pitch now? and turn into something else. So luckily that day, no one was hurt. But it was merely the fact that for a split second, something could have gone horribly wrong.
Right.
And we're talking lives are on the
Lives
line
lost,
here. You know, so from all these experiences where you start to understand like that trigger to the situation and the problem, and why did he got fouled? Obviously, when you play street football and you know this yourself, you don't always get the call.
Right.
And so that's something they should be used to. But then someone grabbing the ball and volleying it in his face because he didn't get the foul, now it's on the reaction rather than the
Of
action.
course.
So overall understanding when to step in versus when to call it a day. If I was to carry on that next challenge, you know, is going to be awful and it could probably break someone's leg.
Mhm.
These are all things that I think when I was watching the game the other day and understanding that, I went, well, thankfully there's no weapons.
Yeah.
The worst case is you got a referee there. But when you're playing street football,
There's no referee.
there's no referee.
There's no authorities.
So yeah, so that gave me an insight on how to handle certain situations, which I haven't really shared with anyone before unless they were there that day.
And how did that fuel the next phases then? So now you've PT'd, you've got an opportunity now. For those that don't know, you got an opportunity now to take those studies further to Dubai, which is how you first came here, correct? How did you then build that into the character that you were becoming?
When you come to Dubai, you get painted a picture of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people. But I don't see it as being a victim. I see it as being a victor. I think it was something that had to happen in my story because someone came out to recruit me in the UK, brought me out here to work for a gym. They said, you're going to be a master trainer. There was no such role. They said, you work 5 hours a day, spend the rest of the time on the beach. There was no such thing. And then understanding, right, I'm here now. And I had a wicked leaving do. My boys threw me a great leaving do. I could never go back. I was ashamed to go back. It was like, you made it.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like 2008 at that stage, you know, leaving the UK. And I was almost embarrassed to go back because I'm like, this is a sick leaving do, man. I can't be going back now. This is.
I love how the leaving do was the.
It was that was the acknowledgement, you know. That was like, you've done it, and I hadn't done anything. Honestly, I hadn't done anything. I was staying with my uncle in Deira. I was working in Media City. I was leaving the house at like 5:30 in the morning. I was staying there the whole day because I didn't have a license, because I didn't have a bank account, because I didn't have a visa. So all the things people experience when they come out here, I was going through, and then in the end, I was like, okay, I'm here now. I can't go back. What am I going to say to my mom when I go back, you know? The whole point was to come out here, work, get her retired, and bring her out here. And I'm like 6 months in, I'm hating life. I miss home. You know, I miss London. I miss my friends. I miss everything.
Yeah.
Even the TV. Everything. I just miss home. And I was like, I can't. This is not for me, man. I can't be here. But eventually, like you learn to ride the wave, and I started to try and seek an opportunity in what I love doing. And there was a lady who came to the gym and asked me to go watch her team play, and I said, women's football, and she was like,
Dubai?
Yeah. And I was like, really? She goes,
early
yeah.
2000s, right?
Yeah, 2008.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, they do that here. And she's like, yeah. I said, where is it? She's like, at university. So which university? She said, AUD. So what's that? The American University of Dubai. I said, oh, they got a women's team. She goes, yeah. She said, can you come watch us play at least? Because I know you're into football. I said, yeah, I'll come down. So I went down. I went and sat on the other side, put a chair down, watched the game. And then at halftime, her and her team come towards me, go, what do you think? I was like,
Who was the coach at this point?
it was on the other side. I was like, you're coming to the wrong side. I'm just here to be just supportive. Anyway, a week later, she came up. She goes, our coach is no longer our coach. Would you mind coming down to coach a few sessions?
Audition.
It was like an audition, yeah. And then I ended up coaching them for a couple of years. And then when I left the university, because I was working there at AUD now as a football coach, the women's team left the university.
When you left?
And when I left, and then they asked me, would you sponsor us? And I was like, with what? They said, well, you need to pay the registration fees for us to enter the league. And then you coach us. And yeah, whatever we need to do, you do. And then I was like, So you're telling me I need to take time out of my schedule,
To build
pay
a
for it
team.
myself, build the team. All right, I'll do it. And that's how it that's how it started. And I'd won like an award. I've been recognized for PT in the Middle East, PT of the Year. And then in 2014, I won Coach of the Year because of the community stuff I was doing with the women's team.
Nice.
So I ended up naming it after the gym that I opened, as I was a founder of it, which was called Platform 3. And then the women's team was called Platform 3 Women's Team.
Nice.
And that's how it kind of got into developing the women's game very early on, like 2011 to 2014, 2015.
So you build the women's team. You've now built a gym.
Yeah.
Even though life in the fitness industry didn't start so well.
Nah.
You build this gym. How does all that lead then to you ending up in Ghana?
I was going through like quite a tough time during that period, and subsequently lost my gym. Lost my gym. I was in trouble. I was trying to find my feet. I was all over the place, very unstable. And I get a phone call from someone saying, "You've obviously been recognized as a coach, etc. Can you go to Accra?" And I said, "For what?"
Just randomly.
So this was an agent.
Okay.
An agent that was supposed to be my football agent when I was growing up.
Okay.
Fast forward, he was training at the gym that I opened, and he knew what I was about, sort of thing. And his name is Safe. And he said, if you got a call from Ghana under 20s, would you take it? Not knowing I didn't have my passport. I lost my gym. I was in a very bad place. And I said to him, when? He was like, last week. You need to be there last week. I'll tell you what, if you don't believe me, Avram Grant, the manager of the senior team, Ghana, will call you. Just be ready. And I thought, he's having a wind up here. There's no chance I'll be called up for Ghana under 20s. And
Having never worked in football like at that level before.
Yeah, no, not at that level. Yeah, amateur level, yes. Community men's, women's, boys, girls, academy. I've done all that, but I haven't worked at that level.
Okay.
And so a couple of days later, I get a phone call, and I thought it was a wind. I was about to put the phone down. So, hello? Yeah. This Omar, yeah. Who's this? This is Avram Grant. Yeah, right. I was about to put the phone down, literally. And he's like, what can you do for me? I said, well, what is it that you want? So I need you to get these guys in shape, mentally, physically. I know you have a football background, but I'm not interested in that at the moment. I just want you to get these guys in shape. When do you need me by? Last week.
Wow.
Supposed to be in Turkey. You're late. I just got the phone call. Oh, am I late? So where do you want me? Well, we're going to Senegal, under 20 World Cup, under 20 African Nations Cup. Can you make it? I'm trying to think, how am I going to get my passport? How am I going to travel? How am I going to get a ticket? How am I going to do all these things? Will I be accepted being the non-Ghanaian in the group? At this stage, my best friend's Ghanaian. Shout out to Derek, by the way.
Derek?
Yeah. So at that stage, I was thinking, I can represent Derek's country, man.
Yeah.
It's dear to my heart. Anyway, don't know how we did it. Got my passport, got on a plane to Senegal. Thinking, what am I doing, man? Like, what am I doing? I get there and meet the team. They're looking at me like, what's he going to do? Where have they found this one? They don't know me at that point.
Of course.
And then Avram went and met me and said, right, you ready to work? I said, yeah, man. I'm ready. I'm hungry. And he went, okay, your session starts today. How long do you need? An hour, 2? And I said, I need half an hour with the boys. And he looked at me like I was crazy. I said, I need half an hour with them. I'm just warning you.
They're going to be sore.
They're going to be sore. We might need the massage table ready. And he started laughing. And the rest is history.
Wow. And that led to you being involved in the senior team also, right? It wasn't just under 21s.
So I was mainly involved with the under 20s, to be honest, because after the African Nations Cup, we got bronze, under 20, and then we went to the under 20 World Cup.
Nice.
And that's where I was then upgraded to technical staff, rather than
So
just
you're on the bench now.
yes. By the way, when I was in AFCON, they gave me a picture of someone. I don't even know who it is, but he did not look like
On your
me.
credentials.
Yeah. He did. I still have it at home. He did not look like me. I might give it to you for the B-roll. Oh my God, it's funny. But then when I got my own badge and I've got a FIFA badge and I'm accredited, I go with them to the World Cup under 20s. And I was still going through a very challenging time. And I was still trying to find my feet at that time. And it's a special moment where it can be as embarrassing as you want it to be, but it can be such a beautiful moment when Ghana are playing Argentina, and I've spent some time with one of the players who scored, and I forget about everything I'm going through. And the camera goes from him scoring to me on the bench, and I just lost my head. So I'm running down the touchline, and the doctor is running towards me, and one of us has to jump. So I've jumped, and he's grabbed me, and FIFA got it.
Wow.
And I think during that moment, I think you see just emotion. I think you see passion. I think you see escapism. I think you see football can bring people together in such a beautiful way. It is such a special moment that yeah, for the rest of my life, I'll never ever forget that moment. It was unbelievable.
I hope you have that framed up somewhere.
I've got the video.
Get the still. Frame
I
it up.
got the video. It's a screen record as well at the time, but I've got it on my Instagram as well. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, you should. Do you know, in all of this, and I'm cognizant this, I can keep unpacking for ages. I know we'd not even scratched the surface. But in all of this, I keep asking myself a question. And I was going to hold it, but I think I need to ask you, which is, when I listen to you speak a lot about working through other people, working with other people, working for other people. Very rarely do you talk about what you do for yourself. Do you have personal outlet? Do you have a place? Do you have people? Do you have things that you do for you?
Yeah, I think you discover that home is the environment you create rather than where you are. I think that's the first thing. I think if you're blessed to have two people in your life that you can go to, you can reflect, GAS, gratitude, appreciation, self-reflection, and you can do that with a filter, without a filter, wholeheartedly, then you're very lucky. And I have that. So that's my phone a friend, or when I'm able to just say what I want to say,
Yeah.
how I want to say it, when I want to say it, and not have to worry about how it'll be perceived.
Excellent.
So I think that's something that you fuel for yourself, but you have to realize that you have to kind of come to discovery of being alone. For me, I spend a lot of time being alone, so for me that's a blessing. But then if the room is noisy, I need to make sure it's the right noise.
Gotcha.
Because then I'll be happy, I'll be content, I'll be lucky to have that noise.
Gotcha.
And until then, it's silent again.
Interesting. I recently had a conversation with a friend of mine where I was like, I'm able to silence the noise in the midst of it all.
How?
Like I've got, like yourself, I've spent a lot of time by myself. I've traveled the world by myself. At one point I was doing anything up to 50, 52 flights a year, right? Which meant that for 3.5 weeks of every month, I was away, alone, hotel rooms, boardrooms, hotel rooms, boardrooms, football pitches. And even in my football days, I had this ability to be able to shut down everything that was going on around me, the crowds, the other players, the opposition, and just slow it right down. So it's just me in that moment. So even now, in the midst of all the noise, I'm able to just cut it all out. I'm just blank it all out. And I'm existing in a world full of people and full of noise, but it's just me. And it's quite interesting you say that. I don't meet many people that are able to internalize as well. You wrote a book, The Five Dominoes. What inspired that?
Making mistakes, not having a one-stop shop, understanding it's okay to make mistakes, and learning from them, and not providing someone with, you know, the solution, but different tools to figure out your solution, to understanding that you could be good at 4 out of 5 things, and one thing could affect the chain reaction. That could be your mental health, could be your physical, could be your fuel, could be your environment, could be your recovery. All the things that are important that we sort of sidestep and get away with when we're a bit younger, where we're like, that's all right, I'll get away with that. But then eventually it catches up with you, and then you have to sit in reflection and understand, where did I go wrong?
Nice.
So for anyone reading that, they'll go, okay, I can hear his voice in the book when he's
Nice.
talking. And so I wanted it to be a conversation rather than it be by the book, thesaurus, encyclopedia.
And
vibe.
it is. I'm actually reading it currently, so it is
Okay.
very much that. And I do very much hear your voice when I read it. With that being said, what are the 5 dominoes?
Yeah, so the 5 dominoes are physical, so your physical fitness, mental, your mental fitness and how important that is in your chain reaction, nutrition, which again, we sort of get away with murder when we're younger.
Sure.
Environment. I always thought that I had to travel to be in a different environment, but actually you create your own environment. You're responsible for it. You're accountable for it. And so resetting your environment is domino 4. And recovery, which is important enough to dedicate a chapter to, which is my subtitle for that. Because a lot of the times we think, yeah, we'll get away with that. It's not a problem, until prevention gets overshadowed by cure. And we only wait till it's too late to fix anything. And that could be anything across the 5 dominoes that you work on. And just understanding that with these things, I tried to simplify it, because I always thought to myself, I need to put so much in there. But actually, the hardest part, and why I rewrote it 4 times and still wasn't happy with it, was because I had to strip it down. I had to condense it.
It becomes too much otherwise.
And people won't finish it. And I have some great books by some fantastic authors who I've met and have had the pleasure of meeting, and haven't finished their books. And I ask myself, why? You love what they stand for. You love what they're writing, but you haven't finished it. You want people to go through it and then go, I might just go back to chapter 2 again. I might just see how I resonated with that and see if it's okay to feel that way, make that mistake, experience that. And then after every chapter, there's takeaways, not mine, yours. So you get to write down almost like a little mini journal of how you relate with reset. And because it was published in 2019, I had no idea how it would be perceived. And then once you put something out there, that's
when you get the feedback.
That's when you get the feedback.
I love that. We call that the medicine in the candy jar. Right? That whole concept of, okay, it's not overbearing. It's nice, it's fluffy, it feels good, but there's real meaning and real direction that sits behind it. And so for you, having written that book, having got the feedback, is there another book in the works, or is that a one and done?
That's me done, bro.
One and done.
That's me done. I just finished doing an audiobook now of Reset.
Yeah.
And that was my chance. Do I go for another version of it? Or do I just add my learnings? Because a lot's happened in the last 6 years. So I was like, you know what? Put a bonus feature in there. What you've learned, how you want to give to those people that were loyal to the Reset model, is by having your learnings, my learnings from that. Because I learned from my mistakes, and I also learned from the evolution of it. And so much has happened in 6 years' time. I've changed as a person in 6 years' time. So I didn't want to lose track of that with the audience, but I also wanted to appreciate that they've been through a lot in the last 6 years, from COVID to et cetera, to the way things have now evolved. So I added that in the audiobook as an extra feature. And I actually put a podcast in there where I sat down with a friend of mine, and she asked some wicked questions, like you as well, by the way. And we went through it. And that was me saying, I'm not doing another one, but this is me.
This is all on the table.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if another book is not next, what's next for Omar?
I think just to continue to grow, man. I think not being scared. I often like go back and try and reflect on little things that I'm like, what would you change differently? And then you normally say I wouldn't because it's shaped who you are. But I think if anyone's kind of like watching this or listening to this, I would say just not to be afraid, man. Not to be afraid to make mistakes, not to be afraid to be laughed at, not to be afraid of growth, to be accountable. There's no sense of entitlement. When I look back and say like, oh, I wish I could have done things better. Yeah, absolutely. But I also would have thought to myself, just don't be scared to take that step, even if you don't know where it's going to be. Unless you take it, you're going to regret it. So I think for me, it's growth. It's evolving in football. Obviously, the last time I was in the studio with the people behind the camera here, you know, I was on a stroller in a cast. So
No, what was it called?
the
The
Strolls Royce.
Rolls Royce.
It's copyrighted now. But just making light of that, you know, the responsibility of entering a room where you don't want to bring down the energy, you want to kind of lift the energy. That was very important for me.
Of course. And for you, where are you tapping into? Who are the people you're speaking to? I'm big on mentorship. I'm big on connecting with the right people and being in the right environments in order to help my own physical, mental growth as well. Do you have places that you go to kind of help you in that evolution? Or is that still with the two main pillars in your life that you mentioned earlier?
I think it's hard to answer that because I have different mentors in different fields, you know, for radio, for broadcasting, for life, for family. I don't really have one, and I think that's the way it's been shaped in itself. Because you also realize that person has to be open to mentoring you as well, and that hasn't always been the case with me. So I think like I'm still kind of figuring that out. If I'm being honest, I don't have one set mentor, but it's definitely something that I have embraced a lot more, and accepting help, which is the harder thing.
That's the part.
Yeah.
That's the part.
And for a long time, I wasn't good at that.
I'm still working on it, bro.
Me too.
Trust me, I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I've had to navigate everything by myself for so long that accepting that somebody actually wants to help you.
Yeah.
My mindset is what do you want back for
Yeah.
that? You know, so it's a tough one to navigate, but it's not always that case. People don't want to help you for something back. Sometimes they just want to help you because you're you. Okay, excellent. And where can people find you? Before we close out, there are two questions I have for you at the end, which I didn't prepare you for. But where can people find you if people wanted to continue the conversation or wanted to pick up a copy of the book, Reset, 5 Dominoes, or just, you know, see what you're doing on a day-to-day? Where can people find you?
So my website is my name. It's omaralduri.com. And that's my Instagram as well, Omar Al Duri. And I'm around, man. I'm. It's not someone that's hard to get hold of.
This guy's a celebrity. Don't even get.
Not even.
He's around, but he's not. You've got to book time with him.
Not even. This is a pleasure to do, actually, because we had a conversation this off camera, and it was just as good. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm around.
Excellent. And 2 questions that I ask everyone who comes on the Mental Notes podcast. First is, if there was somebody who you think would benefit, but also people would benefit from listening to, that would be sat in the chair you're sat in, who would it be?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
My grandfather is mesmerizing, conversation-wise. God bless him. Like, and God rest his soul.
God rest his soul.
Just him giving me time. I mean, if he spoke to you guys would love it.
Love to get some kind of vein of what that was like. And I'm assuming there's no kind of recordings or speaking opportunities or anything that we can find.
Not that. I'll have to try and dig something. I can't. At that time, it was very different.
I would love to have your dad on here, you know. I would love to just have opened up his mind and understood what his driving forces were and how he's raised fine young men like yourself.
I appreciate that.
The last question I always ask people is, if there were 3 songs that would describe you, what would they be?
Oh, that would describe me.
Yes. You pick 3 songs.
Wow. I like I don't know if it's called Staring at the World Through My Rearview Tupac.
Okay.
Really like that one. You know,
Because
because a lot of the times that's what we do. I think
that's
it's always
reality.
the beat, the track is amazing. I'll go with the whole Lauryn Hill Unplugged just because I'm greedy like that. It's a brilliant album. She's got Mr. Intentional. She's got
Many
everything
songs on there.
in there. But yeah, that's a great question, man. I'll have to get back on that one. But those are the kind
Yeah.
of tracks I'd
It's
say.
interesting because I ask everyone this question without preparation, and people always stumble because if the reason behind it is if these 3 tracks could speak for you in a room without you being present, what would they say about you?
Mm,
And that's why I always ask that question.
you got me, man. I had no idea you're going to ask it. And now I want to hear the lyrics again just in case.
Come back to me with them because I'd
Okay.
love to put them on for people to actually go and listen to
Okay.
and understand the essence beyond obviously hearing you speak, understand the real essence of who Omar is beyond the words.
Brilliant.
Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. There's so much more to unpack. And I feel like we need to get you on for a second and then a third time, which never know, we'll probably put into action. But thank you for gracing the Mental Notes podcast. Thank you for coming. Thank you for talking to us about the book. Before I forget, if people want to pick up the book, where do they find that?
On Amazon.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's called Reset, the 5 Dominoes. We'll put a link to it in the description.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Been an absolute pleasure.